I'm always looking for new ways to intersect with Scripture. I think the Bible is the text that keeps us rooted and anchored in the story of God. It gives us practical advice. It gives us moral examples, both of how we should and how we shouldn't be. And it gives us lots of reminders. And it teaches us what the voice of God sounds like. I mean, clearly there's a lot there and more that I could go on and describe besides. But I feel like you get stuck in ruts with Scripture, with the way you study Scripture, with the way you read Scripture, and so I'm always looking for new ways. You know, I like to read all different translations of Scripture. I like to try and read them in the original languages insofar as I'm able. I like to do word studies. I mean, I like to do all kinds of stuff. Well, the truth is, the convenience of our time is such that I have totally new biblical resources. Never mind stuff like BibleGateway.com or even stuff like the YouVersion Bible app, but even with something like Word, I'm able to copy and paste entire books of the Bible into a Word document, remove all their parentheticals and annotations, and read it without demarcations or anything like that, so I can get the Bible in large swatches and go back to reading it like a story without the verse and chapter divisions that have been added somewhat artificially many years after the Scripture was written. One of my favorite biblical disciplines is actually to do that with a Word document and do it for 6 or 8 different translations of the same passage of Scripture. So say Philippians, we'll have a Word document in the English Standard Version, a Word document in the New King James, the original King James of 1611, a Word document in the Message or the Amplified or even the Cotton Patch Gospel, something, you know, wild and off the wall. And then I like to mix and match those different translations together to put together what I call a cobblestone translation of that particular book of the Bible. Now, this is just a devotional practice. I'm not going to preach out of the cobblestone. I certainly don't want to publish it or, you know, have people read my fake translation of Scripture. But what it does is it gives me a much more varied, a much more rounded approach to what God might be saying through His Word. Now, that's just one simple example. And of course, there are many, many, many others. I just don't want to pollute your imagination with all of my thoughts, but that's one example of how we might cooperate with the convenience and with the pace, with the velocity of our culture and use the tools we have at our disposal to come to Scripture in a new way. We could do the same with prayer. We could do the same with pilgrimage. Did you know the internet is a fabulous place to have a pilgrimage? And like the desert for the Desert Fathers, which they often understood to be a place of remarkable peril, but also a place where they gained close proximity with God, the internet is a place of remarkable peril. I mean, there's all kinds of junk on there. Not even, you know, porn, but the good stuff will kill you. The distractions will kill you. And so like those first monks, we pilgrimage our way through Google, navigating away from the things that deteriorate our maturity in Jesus Christ and disciplining ourselves to zero in and focus on and favorite and retweet and share all those things that deepen our relationship with Jesus. Len Sweet, in his book Tablet to Table, gives us a nice picture of what it means to both engage in this digital culture and withdraw from this digital culture. And what I like most about that book is that he constantly is putting the emphasis on not the goodness or the badness of the internet and tech and everything else, or not even the goodness and the badness of eating and being together. He's putting the emphasis on what's happening in us as we do all of the stuff that we normally do. And we've got to pay attention to that interiority and to our lives to make sure that we do continually mature.